Yo, man, you got a top 5 favorite rappers?
Yeah, I mean, my top 5 is just based on, really my top 5 is if I'm Voltron, right? And I take apart the pieces of that machine, who I think it's gonna be composed of. Like I'm composed of almost equal elements of Rakim, the Coogee Rap, of Big Daddy Kane and KRS-One, and probably Chuck D. You know what I'm saying? They're all artists who are influenced by other artists. So I feel like in the same way that you are, I mean, it's a genealogy to it. You know what I mean? The same way that you are, you're made of your two parents and their, their two parents and so on and so forth. It's definitely a lineage involved. But I feel like ultimately what became the artist Black Thought is those 5 MCs.
Wow. And I could definitely see that and hear that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Them dudes right there, man, the syllable play, the word play, the message. They had, you know what I mean? Like, even some of the radio jams had a little message splashed in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can still, it's so much soul food in those joints back then, man. That's why I think hip hop is so important. Yo, so man, all right, y'all. Y'all already know what it is. It's Crooks Corner. I got the legendary elite MC and performer, Jedi Master in the building. You know what I'm saying? The one and the only Black Thought. What's up, my homie?
Salute, Crook. I'm good, man.
You good? How's everything going in this global pandemic? How's life, man?
Life is easy. Life is easy right now. You know what I'm saying? I've been staying out the way and just, it's weird, man. I was just, before we started recording, I was saying I feel more busy now than I was, like pre-quarantine with regards to just, what's on my plate daily, doing interviews, creating content for the Roots YouTube channel, still doing a Tonight Show, but, like doing virtual shows from home and just recording, you know what I mean? I got like a whole skew of features of people who've been waiting on verses that I'm able to sort of deliver on now. And yeah, man, it's dope. You know what I'm saying? I've been hesitating and just sort of procrastinating to get my own, like to get some equipment at the crib and start recording at home. I've been procrastinating for quite some time. And yeah, just the fact that I've sort of been forced to out of necessity is just another beautiful thing. So I'm able to record at home, which, I should have been doing. But I don't know. I was just so stuck on the whole antiquated concept of, spending time in the brick and mortar, like, I'm in the stew, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where the magic sort of happens. And, when the reality is, the magic happens wherever I go. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, my pen has been super, has been strong. Like, my pen game has been just as strong at home over this past 2 weeks as it would have been if I were, running the street and up in the studio sitting at a huge board. So, yeah, it's been a little bit of an eye opener. And yeah, I've been super productive, man. Staying out of the way, but super productive.
You know what, bro? That's you said a few things I want to touch on real quick because I did the same thing myself. I procrastinated with building a little, setup at the crib that I could record at, and I just ordered it myself. I got everything now. I got to plug the wires in, you know what I mean, and figure out how to record myself and things of that nature. But it is that feeling of going to work, that especially being blue collar lyricist, you know what I'm saying? It's going in and you want to have that feeling of being in the stew, being in the lab, man. And I was going to ask you how was everything affecting your creativity? But you said your pen is moving.
Yeah. I feel, I've been super creative, man. I feel like, just in trying times, man, like that's, I guess they say they say necessity is the mother of all creation. You know, I feel like that's applicable in this case.
Yeah.
You know, just out of necessity, you know, it's either hit it or quit it. Like, you know what I mean? You could chill and, you know, and rock out and just wait for this shit to sort of, you know, for the storm to pass over, or you could get busy. So I just, off the rip, I just started getting busy, man. You know, I'm used to sort of chopping up my day and spending, you know, the beginning part of my day at home, but sort of working on my own stuff, like writing maybe for streams of thought, you know, like coming up with some bars. I might do some reading or whatever. But you know, I got my Broadway musical that I've been working on for some time now. So when I'm working on that, sometimes like I have to do the musical from maybe 10 in the morning to 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And then at 3 in the afternoon, I got to run and do the Tonight Show. And then I'm there until like a little bit after 6. And then I might go into the studio. And in the studio, I work on stuff for the play. I work on some of my own stuff. I work on root stuff. I do that for a few hours, and then I come home at night and I start to have to, you know, rinse, repeat. The fact that, you know, I haven't had to leave the crib, it just freed up a little bit more time and freed up a little bit more, you know, just creative headspace for me to sort of, you know, just be more fluid in that. There's something to be said about the part of my process that sort of takes place when I'm driving. Like, there's a certain amount of writing that I do driving and listening to the beat. And, you know, it's not, it happens differently if I'm being driven. It's like I need to be driving my car and listening to some shit that I'm trying to write my shit to. And, you know, it just hits me in a different way. So I definitely miss that. And I mean, I guess at the end of the day, if I wanted to, I could just drive around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been working for me, man. It's been working. I did NPR's first at-home edition of Tiny Desk.
I saw that. That was crazy.
Thanks, man. Thanks, bro.
That was
So I
crazy.
did that, you know, here at the crib, and I've still been working on the musical. It's called Black No More. We're still on schedule to open up off Broadway on November 5th. You know,
What is that, man? Talk to me about that.
And Black No More is it's an adaptation of a book by the same title that was written by this guy George Schuler. It was written by George Schuler, came out in 1932. So it's Harlem Renaissance, and it's set in Harlem. It's Afrofuturist. It's an Afrofuturist novel. It's a love story. But in that, you know, there's lots of satire, there's dark humor. As Schuler was sort of like, he was the troll of the Harlem Renaissance. He poked fun, and you know what I mean, he had a lot of people upset, you know what I'm saying? And the more response, the more reaction he got out of you, the more he sort of fuck with you. So this story, in short, it's about a scientist that comes up with the technology to turn black people white. And, you know, that's achieved by manipulating the cells that cause vitiligo. He could give you vitiligo sort of all over your body. And in the play, that doctor is played by myself. And, you know, not only do I get to play one of the roles, you know, 85% of the composing and arranging I got to do. You know, I'm one of the producers. I'm one of the writers. I wrote it along with Oscar Award winner John Ridley. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's sort of become my life's work. It's become, it definitely represents, you know, it's the answer to my own question that I had about what the next chapter is going to look like, you know, after the Tonight Show. And, you know what I mean, how was I going to evolve? You know, was this going to be it? You know what I mean? What did the future hold? So I feel like once this show is up and running, and, you know, once I sort of rock out with it and get it to where it's self-sustainable, once I step back from that, I'll really be able to sort of decide, you know, I'll be able to do whatever it is that I want to do, like moving forward in life. As I could continue as a playwright, as a composer arranger, I could take a deep dive just, you know, into more music. I could chill all together and not do shit, you know what I'm saying? Right. If this thing really plays out the way that that it feels like it's going to. So yeah, I've been working on it at this point for about 6 years.
6 years. So you building something that, you know, I think we all want to build things that will outlive us. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
exactly. That's the idea. So this is a legacy joint. You know what I mean? This is like, you know, prestige. This is legacy. This is something that, you know, if done right, which is, you know, the way we're doing it. You know, my kids and their kids, this is something that they're gonna own as a franchise, you know, sort of forever. And I got a dream team, you know, the first time out. For this to be my first time dabbling in the realm of musical theater, just the people that I've been able to align myself with, from John Ridley to Bill T. Jones, who's the choreographer, to Scott Elliott as a director, to the different producers that have come on board. It's like, you know, it's the best equation that I could have asked for. So
wow.
yeah, it's super dope, man.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. That sounds dope. You was in like 13 films. You know what I'm saying? Like you've been in a lot of films, bro. Like is that when I'm like, wow, is that something else you think about, like just super diving into? Like just keep it going with that? Because I mean, over the years you've appeared in a lot of films.
You know what? For me, man, just anything where I get to flex a different muscle, anything that I don't have to rap in, you know what I mean?
Real.
Is engaging for me, and it's, you know, it's fun for me, and it doesn't feel like, you know, the blue collar rapper going to work.
Right.
And it's like, and it's something that I, you know, get excited about. So any chance to work in a different medium, like I'm here for that. So yeah, I love acting, and that's why it was a natural progression for me to go from working behind the scenes on this play to, you know, just becoming one of the performers, because it was like nobody that I cast was able to really deliver and really to hit, you know, my songs and my rhymes and my bars exactly the way that, you know, I heard it when I wrote it. So yeah, man, I love to act. Like it doesn't feel like a job to me when I'm working as an actor. And my favorite thing that I've done as an actor to date is my most recent thing, which was I got to work on the HBO series The Deuce, which was crazy. You know what I mean? It was anything where I get to do, you know, any period piece, you know what I'm saying? Though I hate to have to shave my beard, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
yours is, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get on that level, feel me?
I hate to have to shave my joint, but if I'm gonna do it, I want it to be for something, you know, that I know is gonna hit hard, and it's gonna, you know, it's gonna be something that's gonna transform me to where people will look at it and maybe, you know, you'll see the scene or you'll see an episode of the show 4 or 5 times before you realize that that's me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Yeah.
now,
So
the Deuce is set in the 70s.
Oh yeah. The Deuce is set in 1972, 1973, 42nd Street, you know what I mean? When New York City was still sleazy and all crazy like that. And it's the creators of The Wire, so that whole team.
Crazy.
Yeah, so it was dope. It was dope to, you know, be able to do that and to be able to, you know, take part in one of those iconic HBO series. You know, so I rocked out with it for season 1 and did it, you know, as much as I could before it, you know, became a scheduling conflict. And yeah, it was dope. Something else that I did that I really enjoyed, I enjoyed working on the James Brown biopic, Get On Up, with Chadwick Boseman.
Crazy.
You know, when we were working on that, John, he was telling me, yeah, you know, I'm thinking about you know, I might, like, I think he had like some of his initial auditions and he was being considered, you know, for the role of Black Panther. And it was like, we had no idea what that shit was going to become. But yeah, he was just like, you know, starting to like figure out whether or not he was going to get that role. You know what I mean? But yeah, getting just the opportunity to work with Chadwick and to work, I had to commute working on that film because it was during the time that we were transitioning from late night to the Tonight Show. So I had to commute, you know, all the way down to Natchez, Mississippi, where they were shooting a lot of that. That's where Nas's family is from. Like, if you listen to you know, some of his rhymes when he talking about his heritage, his peoples come from Natchez. And Natchez was like the crossroads for the slave trade in the South. It was like the largest open air slave market in the nation. It was down there in Natchez. So they had, the highest rate of Mississippi millionaires per capita were located down there in Natchez. So it was just a crazy feeling, commuting from New York City, where we were becoming the Tonight Show. We were transitioning into primetime TV. Then I'd have to fly down to New Orleans and then drive 3 hours from New Orleans to this, place in Mississippi where it was just crazy, man. And we'd be working in we'd be shooting in a plantation and then sleeping in a different plantation. And, this is a lot of ghosts and spirits in that town that, it was crazy, man. It was just ill to be able to take part in that, in telling that story. And James Brown's story was so wild that, it was dope though. It was, and again, it's a period piece that I had to shave for, and I got to wear a crazy wig. And, I played Pee Wee Ellis, who was, a saxophonist. And, at one point he was a band leader in James Brown's band.
You learned the saxophone for that, right?
I did, yeah. I had to learn how to play sax, for real and all that. So that's what I like to do as an actor. I like to do something that's gonna get me out of my comfort zone. And I'm down to go the extra mile for it if it's gonna be engaging and rewarding for me in that way. You know what I mean? So yes, I'm trying to do as much more acting as possible. You know what I mean? If those real roles present themselves to me.
You said something. You said that the people, nobody could really hit your lines on that Broadway joint like you could hit your own lines. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That comes. You one of the greatest that we have seen. You know what I mean? When it comes to this MC shit, just flat out. It's like, even what I used to always trip off of, dog. MCs from Philly, dog. Like, what is it in the water, dog? A lot of rappers from Philly got fucking bars. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel like in Philly, it's just just coming from a place where you have to create. It's all do for self. You know what I mean? Like, we had to create a scene where there was none. You know what I mean? Which is, it was always something sort of happening close by, in that it was, right there within our reach in New York City. But, being a sister city to New York and just being a different place, it was like we were always in New York City's shadow. So you had to go above and beyond to step out from, from the shadows.
Right.
And to be, recognized and respected and received in the way that you wanted to be received as an artist. You couldn't be no joke, you know what I mean? With the Roots, we came out when we first hit, we had Scott Storch in the group. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We had, a big ass upright bass in the group. We had, me and Questlove just looking crazy. There was no cohesiveness in the look, the imagery, what you saw, like our aesthetic. You know what I mean? We were like just a real motley crew of dudes. So it really, that cohesiveness, like it really, we had to gel sonically. So, if you close your eyes and listen to it, it was just, that much more dope than if you were sitting there sort of just, scratching your head like, what the fuck? Like, who is these dudes? Right. And I feel like because of that, me and Malik, Malik B, who was, my longtime partner in the Roots, we just, we always spar with one another to sort of keep each other sharp. Mm-hmm. And we had to like come out and just prove, firstly to ourselves, but also to the world, that we were forces to be reckoned with lyrically. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we wasn't tested. We had, it's about sort of staying ready so you don't got to get ready, like that whole sort of mindset. And though we weren't, I wouldn't consider myself a battle rapper, but I've been in my fair share of battles. Then it's about, just always being prepared and just ready to rock or battle or do whatever, if need be. And we come from an era where, you had to be able to rhyme off the top of your head. Yes, it wasn't about no, let me, go through my mental Rolodex for the flyest shit that I wrote recently. You need to be able to, deliver that shit when the beat come on, and it has to be based on what's happening in the room or what's happening in the club or wherever you at that, point in time. So I feel like just being sharp in that regard gave us almost an upper hand amongst people who didn't take it that seriously or people who didn't have to take it as seriously as we did. And then also, coming from Philly, it's always just been super competitive. You know what I mean? Like my first group that I was in the fourth grade, like when I first started performing as a rapper. And I was in a crew called the Crash Crew. It was me, it was my homie Waleek, and it was Beanie Siegel.
Wow.
So, that was when we was third and fourth graders, but it was still, we was just as hungry and just as, grimy and just as, we all had something to prove even back then. Again, like first we had something to prove amongst ourselves and then sort of to the world. You know what I mean? So, I've always just, that's how I move. Even, I try to be as worldly as possible, and I try to be as personable and, to come out of my shell and to be as extroverted as I'm able to be, being the introvert that I sort of am.
Right.
But all that being said, when it comes down to it, I'm just a hungry rapper. I'm always gonna be hungry, at heart. And I feel like that's what keeps what I do sounding fresh and feeling fresh. And, the fact that my commercial success, my accolades that I've received, my awards, my flowers that I've received, it's been a long road to that.
Yes.
So I don't take any of it for granted. So I feel like that shows in my sound too. People always like, yo, how you sound so hungry? You sound like you don't even got no deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've always operated, just from a place where you can lose it all, because I've seen people lose it all, in an instant. So just knowing that, nothing is guaranteed, and tomorrow might not even come. It's always just been about killing shit sort of to death today. You know what I mean?
No, dog. Yeah. This man just said he was in a group with Beanie Siegel.
That's our first group. That's our first group.
Yo, Beans is so hard, bro. Lord, shout out Beans, man. I mean, I got a lot of influences personally from Philly. You know what I mean? From all the way from Schoolie D to Steady B to 3 Times Dope with Funky Dividends and what I mean, Cool C. Glamorous Life. You feel me? Like and that's talking way back. I just got a lot of influences from listening to the music and the rappers that came out of Philly. I always loved it. Did you got any, like, who did you look up to? Being a Jedi, I always want to know, who do these Jedi lyricists look up to early in the game? When you was early on your come up, like who influenced you? Who inspired you?
I was inspired by everybody that you just named. Like coming from Philly, I was definitely inspired by, the young Will Smith when he was the Fresh Prince, rocking with Jazzy Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
I come from an era where it was almost more about the DJ, than it was about the MC. Like the MC was an accessory, was like, something that went along with a dope DJ, and it was about you bigging up the DJ. And I feel like just the chemistry between Jeff and Will, it was like the perfect chemistry, and Will made it just as much about the MC as it was about the DJ. I feel like some of the best DJs have always come from Philly. DJ Jazzy Jeff, Spin Bag, Cash Money, DJ Miz, list goes on and on. Victor Duplay when he was called Master Vic. But the list goes on. And just those MCs that really that came with all those DJs really stood out to me. So that was one influence. And just to see Will, come out as the Fresh Prince, and that's somebody that I would see after school in the mall that I could reach out and touch. Right. And then I saw him take it to, the world and beyond, first as a rap star, you know what I mean? Out there with all of the influences that I had from New York, Like I saw them performing right there at the Fresh Festival and the first concerts that I went to as a buck. You know what I mean? When I was like 11, 12 years old, I saw them rocking out with the LLs and the Fat Boys and Run DMC and, you know, all of the major influences. And that let me know that, you know, you could come from Philly and you could do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I saw them winning the Grammy Awards and all that. You know what I mean? Early on, when they was kids, they were still kids. And that just let me know, like, what, you know, that if I put my mind to it, I could come from Philly. I didn't have to be from one of those major cities that was already known for the craft in order to make a name for myself doing it. But then it was also a cautionary tale, like I said, in that I saw Will lose it all. You know what I mean? I saw Will, you know, his valleys and peaks. I saw him blow up and then, you know, be dead broke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then I saw him build his career back up and reinvent himself, you know, from that whole, you know, running into Benny Medina and creating the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and all that, and then to go on to be, you know, above and beyond. He like the Black Tom Cruise and beyond, you know what I mean? Like to become, you know, the most sought after male film actor in the world, you know, from somebody that I used to see around the way. Yeah, that was just super inspiring. So Will and Jazzy Jeff, like they might be my, you know, one of my top inspirations.
That's dope.
You know, and but you know, you got Schoolie D, who Schoolie D, man, he came out during the era where, you know, Schoolie D came out. Hold up, got this joint over here.
Parkside, 5-2, Parkside, my shit.
Man. I got this joint right here that I keep on the wall. I got a couple Schoolie D photos.
Damn, that's OG right there.
Yeah, I got this joint right here that I keep in the office. Schoolie, you know, he was the original gangster of rap. And you know, rap, it was like something that we sort of did in the shadows, that we did, you know, behind closed doors. You might, you know, play a record, a Richard Pryor record, or, you know, I guess the rap version of Richard Pryor might have been like a Dolomite record or something like that. Right. Or you know, it was a certain level of censorship that went into whatever it was that we were doing lyrically, just out of, I guess out of respect. You know what I mean? It was like, yo, you know, you might curse here, you might like insinuate, you know what I mean, to a curse word. Schoolie D was the first person that I heard that didn't give a fuck. He didn't give a fuck. He talked the same way that people in the bar talked, in the same way that, you know what I mean, people on the block spoke. You know what I mean? I heard him, you know, just using every curse word.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
and you know, and rapping about, you know, real street shit that was just, you know, it was what he was immersed in. It was what I was seeing on the street. It was a lifestyle that I was familiar with, but I never heard it depicted that way that he did on a record. You know what I mean? And then his cadence, like Schoolie D originated these cadences that, you know, became the cadence of the Midwest and the West Coast, and you know what I mean, that whole 6 in the morning shit, like he thought of that shit. He thought of that, you know what I mean? And that shit just became such an iconic sort of cadence. And I saw, you know, that I saw that evolution. I saw that somebody from Philly, you know what I mean, came up with this thing in his mind that, you know, impacted the rest of the country and ultimately the rest of the world in that way. And that was inspirational too, in a different way than what Jeff and Will had done. You know what I'm saying? And then EST, man, like what they did, what 3 Times Dope did, it was just like, I mean, just that was like when I saw the craft elevated to a wordsmith. ES was a Philadelphia wordsmith. No doubt. You know what I mean? He came up with a whole concept. Act Nicholas, just he was, you know, he came up with just this whole shit that was like, it was just so groundbreaking and just so fresh and new and, you know, comparable to everything that was going on, but still just unique in that. And and that just let me know that, you know, I could sort of think I didn't have to play by any rules. You know what I mean? So it was just dope for me early on to see just my fellow Philadelphians, like all these brothers from Philly you know, sort of trailblazing and being pioneers. With regards to like my actual, like my craft and like what I like applied to like my earliest sort of raps, I always wanted to tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just always wanted to have like a narrative to what it was that I did. Some of my earliest joints that I can recall, my earliest hip hop memories are listening to Rapper's Delight,
Yes,
or
sir.
listening to the Maestro by R.C. LaRock.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That joint, everybody around the nation, I want to give you some inspiration. Like that joint, Spoonie G Love Rap. You know what I mean? Like anything, you know, anything Grandmaster Caz did, like a lot of like actual cassette tapes of the Cold Crush brothers performing live, and Grandmaster Caz, like the Cold Crush, you know, all of them brothers, like, you know, JDL and KG and all them, they would rock, and they would just, you know, they was like, you know, hibbity bop bibbity, like they would rap about whatever was going on at the moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sometimes they rap about the DJ, whatever, but whenever Caz got the mic, that's when it would turn into the story. Let me tell you what happened at this place at this time, and that shit was just crazy. And what Caz did influenced Rakim and Kane and G-Rap, and they in turn influenced me. So it was always for me about the evolution of storytelling and just becoming as efficient as a storyteller as I could. And I wanted to, you know, I wanted those stories that conjured up imagery, you know what I mean, that you feel like you there. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like, you know, at my best, I was able to achieve that. You know what I'm saying? Like I was able to create stories and, you know, create these characters out of, you know, that were, you know, a figment of my imagination.
Word
that
up.
people feel like it's no way that shit wasn't real. There's no way that You Got Me wasn't some real shit. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, yeah, like, you know, everybody, all the storytellers that came before me, from G-Rap, Kane, Rakim, KRS-One,
Yes.
Grandmaster Caz, you know what I mean, Spoonie G, you know what I mean? Like they all have been super influential as far as what it is that I do.
You remember the first rap you memorized, like the first rap song?
Yeah. The first rap that I memorized was in that cadence of, you know how the Treacherous Three, Kool Moe Dee, they used to have that joint. It might have been called Super Rap. I know they had a song called Super Rapping, but whatever joint they had that started like at a moderate pace, and then by the end of the song it was fast, and it was they would go back and forth trading off the verses like, I'm the devastating, motivating, rocking on the double data, then somebody cut him off. Like, I'm the him,
I know the joint.
like, so that record, you know, which I guess, you know, JJ Fad did that style, you know, satirically. Like they did it in a funny way.
Right.
When they did the, you know, I'm a lama 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 like that whole supersonic.
Yeah.
That was the first style I wrote in. Yeah, exactly. That was the first style that I wrote in. And I was 9 years old. My first rap, it was I'm a hip hopper, never stop a rockin' all around the clock. A double T, you knows me. I'm rocking on the MIC. Money make a booty shake a party, rockin' non-stop. A girl take a heartbreaker, undercover, super lover, debonair. I'm everywhere. So it was like that whole cadence.
Wow.
You know, that, you know, we used to sit there with a dictionary and you know what I mean, like try and like come up with all the words that ended in Ada. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Terminator,
yeah, exactly. Put them shits in the rap. So that was actually my first joint that I wrote and memorized. Was it began the way that I just kicked it.
And you just said like you was a young pup doing that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like wow to it. Hip hop kind of must have opened your mind. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, you know, just in retrospect, man, you know, they always say that, you know, the change in the world is going to come from the young people. You know what I mean? The young mind is going to be responsible for, you know, every revolution. You know, you think back to, I mean, everybody that I just named, man, these is all kids. These is people who was, you know, 16, 17, 18 years old. I was talking to D Nice, one of the first people that I interviewed on the Roots YouTube channel, maybe 2 weeks ago, I talked to D Nice, and he was like my first interview. That's the good brother. You know what I mean? We talked about the phenomenon of his, club quarantine and that whole thing. And then we just get to chopping it up about these stories because he got so many stories because he's been in the game since he was like 15 years old. So he was telling me when he was like 16 or 17, and he was on a train going to DJ he was going to DJ for Big Daddy Kane at the Apollo, and he wound up being Kane's hype man. And on the way to this performance, Kane, who was like 18 at the time, was writing. He was sitting on the train writing his rhyme, rapping, stepping to me. They want to get some, but I'm the Kane. So, yo, you know the outcome, another victory. And he kicking it to D Nice, like, yo, what you think of this? These is kids on the train. You know what I'm saying? I got a son who's about to turn 21. I got kids older than they are now. When I think about, 14-year-old Roxanne Shante or 14-year-old Special Ed and shit that they wrote back then when they was 14 that I'm quoting today, you know what I mean? It's crazy, man. That shit is crazy. It's crazy, and it's like it lets me know not to never underestimate the youthful expression and just the power of the creativity of the young mind, man, because that's where all this shit really comes from, man. Like young people making a way where there was none, you know what I mean, and creating a platform where there was none, you know what I mean. Like we at the era now where I'm 46 years old, you know what I mean? Jigga 50, his rapper's 50, you know what I mean? That's still able to do this. But that's because we've evolved and we've grown with this culture. But when it first started, cats was like 13, you know what I mean? I started rapping, like I said, when I was 9. Beans was 8, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. Yo. So, that puts it into perspective. And it lets me know, it lets me know not to take it for granted and not to, marginalize, not to, you know what I mean, feel like, oh, you too young to know what you're talking about. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Nah, we got to talk to him. We can't talk at him, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
We got to talk to him, man. I mean, Cube was a youngster too.
Exactly.
Right, Boys in the Hood for Easy and, straight out of Compton. He was a teenager, 16, 17 years old, man. Iconic records, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That no mistake. Make no mistake. Hip hop is important, I mean, a lot of people say hip hop saved my life, you know what I mean? And some people might think that's corny, but I really believe people when they say that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Look,
I believe
hip hop saved my life for sure.
For sure, dog. Me too.
Hey, without a doubt. Without a doubt. You know what I mean? I come from, both my parents are murder victims. You know what I'm saying? My pop was killed before I turned 2. My mom was killed when I was like 16 years old, right when I started 11th grade or something. And man, I just come from where most of the people that I grew up with are either, they say, oh, you're going to either wind up dead or in jail. And that's a cliche, some shit that only happened in the movies. Nah, yo, I can name 100 people from my neighborhood that I grew up with that's either dead or in jail or went to jail and then got out of jail and then died. You know what I mean? And it's that's just that's the harsh reality. That's the sad truth of, just the equation coming from where, I'm from and where you're from. And just any glimpse of what happens beyond those gates, beyond, the walls, beyond the neighborhood. I mean, just like a cycle. For me, it was like just getting out the hood to take like those little day trips. You know what I mean? Like it could be anything. It could be we going to amusement park for the day, and you got to drive through some other neighborhoods, and that gave me just glimpses into what it was like outside of South Philly. You know what I mean? And what it was like, sort of, outside Philly proper, and just what the possibilities were. If you sort of focused on getting out and rising above. You know what I mean? But for a lot of people, the majority, more people than not, that came from where I'm from, they gone. Yo, people ain't here to tell those tales. You know what I'm saying? So
it's man, I got compilations that came out when we was young bucks, and half the people that's on the compilation with me rapping dead or in jail, bro.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It's like you go and listen to it and you sit back and reminisce like, damn, homie gone. Or damn,
yeah,
homie doing life. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's just a vicious cycle. And hip hop really is a lifesaver. I think it's also, just created a global economy for some downtrodden people, you know what I mean? And it came through and changed things. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It was a change agent. You feel me? So
yeah, absolutely.
definitely fucking grateful for hip hop. This culture did save my life. Where do you see hip hop going in the next 5 years, especially with this stay at home era, coronavirus pandemic era? Where do you see hip hop?
I see less tolerance for, well, I see, the culture sort of, reaching a lower threshold for nonsensical music. You know what I mean? I feel like, we reached a point in hip hop where it's all inclusive. Anything goes, you know what I mean? There's room for everybody to sort of do whatever it is they want to do, and for that to still be considered, part of the culture. But in times like these, I feel like there's going to be a call for more music of substance and for lyrics of substance. You know what I mean? People, need chicken soup for the soul. People need something that's going to hit them, you know what I mean, in the heart and hit them in the head in a different way than something that's only for the means of escapism. You know what I mean? There's something to be said about just getting your mind off everything. And, you know what I mean? You just want something to bop to. But
Right.
that's not going to be motivational in the way that something that's thought-provoking is. So I feel like people need something that's thought-provoking, something that's spirit-provoking, you know what I'm saying, in times like this. So I feel like, yeah, it's that return to the lyrics, you know what I mean? It's that return to the real that we, have spoken about, for some time now. And, for artists like myself, it's a lot of artists who never bit their tongue and never had to compromise what it is that they were talking about. And that's always been the agenda. You know what I mean? I feel like what's happening right now in the world is, I've always spoken about this. This is, I hate to say I told y'all, but I've been telling niggas forever that shit like this was gonna happen. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
guns, germs, and steel. You know what I mean? It's, shit go back to old books that I'm looking at on my shelf right now, like The Unseen Hand and Leviathan 666 and shit like that we was reading, in 1994 and 1995 that, has gradually come into fruition just in a way that we always, had read and that we always thought it was going to happen. That's the shit that's happening now. And I feel like people need something that speaks to that. People need something that's going to be informative. You know what I mean? People need something that's going to be, we need that KRS-One, Chuck D, you know what I mean? X-Clan, some shit will motivate you to sort of to rise up. You know what I'm saying? And it's always been there. It never went anywhere. You know what I mean? It's always been the, for every, I don't know, like for every 21 Savage, it's a dead prez.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, where there has been room for everyone to sort of coexist and for, my music to have a message and for your music to be about, shaking ass and all that shit, I feel like there's going to be the reemergence of thought-provoking material. You know what I'm saying? People going to have less of as a culture, we're going to be less likely to accept, you know what I mean, some bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm in full agreement. I feel like you took your pen, to the pinnacle. You know what I mean? I always ask, I asked M this, I asked Rakim this, where do we see the art of lyricism going from here? Because, what else can you do? You feel me? Like, you double time, all right, cool, we can rap fast as hell, all right, we know how to put syllables together, all right, we could slow down the cadence. Like, what else is there? Has it reached its peak lyricism, or is there another chamber that could be open?
I feel like one other chamber that can be open is, just to become linguists. You know what I'm saying? It's like to, just to really start to incorporate the fundamentals of other languages. And, the same way hip hop has been impactful around the world, and like you could follow the footprint of hip hop around the world, and you got people rapping in every language. Everybody that raps in every language isn't a credible lyricist. You know what I'm saying? Just because you could rap in Portuguese and rap in Mandarin and rap in, whatever language, Swahili, whatever the fuck, it doesn't mean you're dope. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's one place it could go. You know what I mean? Like people who have already established themselves as sort of keepers of the flame with regards to the English language. The Jedi masters. It'll be ill to start to master other languages in that same way. You know what I mean? And not on no just like, look real quick, I can rap in French, I can rap in Chinese, you know what I mean? Like just on some real shit, you know what I mean? Just embracing other languages in the same way that we've embraced the English language. That's one place it might go. Another place is just, just bringing it back to that written word. You know what I mean? You got you folks who I got this stack of notebooks behind me, right?
Yeah.
Like this, books right here, and this is like some of the original joints that became iconic roots classics. I got the original drafts of those joints. I got verses that didn't make it. But this is the sort of thing that people, people will pay for that shit.
What? I mean, I'll pay for it right now.
This is the sort of thing that we could do. I could turn these into projections or 3D sculptures, or I could create. This is fine art right here. This is an art exhibit in whatever way that I want to approach it. It could be a sculpture. It could just be an exhibit of the words like blown up on a wall or whatever. It can be a reading. I could do some revisionist history where I sit there with these notebooks and tell you how these songs almost went. You know what I mean, or how they went the first 2 or 3 times I wrote it before I got to what became the record. So there's something to be said in that, you know what I mean? Like the written word, the spoken word, the way that I'm applying, my songwriting to the Broadway musical, to musical theater, in that, okay, there's an element of the dialogue that's rapped, which is like, for me, I never was a fan of that many musicals. And I definitely was, it was a deal breaker for me if it was rap. It's like, oh yeah, and then they start rapping. Like before Hamilton, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't trying to hear none of that. Like I didn't want anything where people was rapping the lines back and forth. Like it just never appealed to me. Hamilton, sort of opened my eyes to the possibilities, if it was done in the right way. And I feel like, what I've done with Black No More is not only built on that same Hamilton momentum, but I've taken it to the majority of Black No More isn't even rapped at all. You know what I mean? But it's written with the rap lyricist sensibility. And I've been able to compose, ballads and rock ballads and power ballads and, sad songs and, songs that sound like they from 1920, songs that sound like they from 2050, you know what I mean? Right. But it's all coming from the same principles, you know what I'm saying, as like a 16-bar verse that I'm writing. And I feel like that shines through as well. And I feel like that's another place where just the craft and where the lyricism is going, has gone, and is able to continue to go. You know what I mean? We got to continue to get ourselves out of that comfort zone and just embrace the world of possibility. And we have to elevate what it is that we do to high art. You know what I mean? We got to look at ourselves as artists. We have to look at ourselves as, flame keepers. We have to embrace our lyricism in the same way that, Dickens is embraced. You know what I'm saying? If we don't appreciate it as that sort of art amongst ourselves, and if we don't demand that it be, respected as such, then nobody's gonna appreciate it or respect it in that way because they feel like, you know, they don't have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, we gotta start. I mean, I don't know. We gotta start doing these, you know, one-of-one events and these one-of-one performances, one-of-one, you know, songs. You know what I mean? And elevating that and selling it and marketing that in the same way that we market, you know, an art exhibit. You know what I mean? Or you know, a reading by some iconic author who's, you know, only here to read this, you know, whatever he wrote. That's just for like what I've been doing. I've been doing these joints at art galleries around New York City where based on whatever the subject of discussion is, or based on whatever the collaborative effort is, I create a performance. It could be, you know, I've done a 20-minute joint, 12 minutes, it could be 40 minutes, but I create a piece that is only for the people who are in attendance. There's no phones allowed. It's not a record that I'm making and then I'm gonna sing the record. It's like I'm just doing this one-of-one performance. And if you're there, if you're, you know, one of the 100 to 150 to however many people are in a room, then you leave with that, and you know what I mean, you experience like that. That's it. That's the exhibit. That's the installation.
And
you know what I mean?
Else, yeah, that's hard body because, you know, I think that we are on that level, especially like, you know, talking to someone like you. And that stack of notebooks you showed me just took me down memory lane too, because I actually saw Big L's notebooks. You know what I'm saying? And I got to pick up, you know, the freestyle he spit on Stretching Bobito, and I got to hold, you know what I mean, Ebonics written by him, you know what I mean? And it just felt like, it felt so surreal. It felt like, you know, this needs to be in a museum, you know?
Yeah, man, that's it. And it does. Like, that's, you know, imagine if you could go and, you know what I mean, pick up something, one of Shakespeare's rough drafts of, you know, and the Crucible or Romeo and Juliet. So, you know, it's like, that's where, you know, we have to give ourselves that same sort of, you know, gravitas, like that same sort of, that level of seriousness. And like, this is what it is. Like, this is art, you know? And then, you know, that's when it's going to be respected and appreciated in that way, man. But yeah, it's crazy, man. You talk about L, one of his last performances, you know what I'm saying? Rest in paradise, man. God bless the dead. Was at one of our jam sessions. I mean, we used to do these jam sessions at this spot called the Wetlands in New York City, and it was just all about us coming up from Philly, and you know, it was a show and prove. It was, you know what I mean, nothing was written, everything was improvised. We get up there, the music would be improvised, Scott Storch be up there playing, you know, whatever came to him right in that moment, and just 1,000 MCs that come through and rock. And on this particular night, it was me, Common, Buckshot, J. Rue the Damager, Cannabis, Sadat X came through and brought Big L. The list goes on and on, man. There was so many crazy MCs there this particular night that I remember that was one of the last times that we had that level of jam session, because all the women felt like no women got a chance to rock on the mic that night. So they rebranded our jam session, and that's where the Black Lily came from. They said, yo, we had to reestablish this shit and do it where, you know, some females are guaranteed an opportunity to get on the mic. And like from that Black Lily, that's, you know, that begat so many dope artists and so many brilliant, you know, vocalists and musicians. And that platform was created out of that night. Like that last night was like one of the last straws. Like, look, y'all been rapping, freestyling for fucking 5 hours up here. You know what I mean? And I remember, man, that was like one of the last performances. Like no more, man, maybe 3 days later, you know what I'm saying, we lost L.
Damn.
Yep.
Damn. What a talent. Before I get out of here, I definitely want to talk about Yaya, man, on Murdered By. You know what I'm saying? The people really wanted an M Black Thought joint, you know what I'm saying? And I think you guys just really delivered, you know, beyond expectations, man. That verse you did was fucking crazy, bro, as usual. But I'm just saying, man, how did that come about?
That was all Royce, man. That was all Royce, and Royce has been, it's been great to have him as a comrade, and to be able to bounce ideas off one another.
Mm-hmm.
We just got a different sort of mutual respect, a high level of respect for one another as artists. So anytime we get together, it's that unspoken. It's competitive, but it's competitive in a way that's going to bring out the best in both artists. You know what I mean? That's if we're in the studio, if we're on the stage, if we send us shit back and forth via text. You know what I mean? So we did that. We did a song together for one of Royce's joints called "Rap on Steroids."
Remember that?
When it came out, I think like the last maybe like bar and a half, he had M say like 2 words on that joint.
Right.
And it was and that had everybody hype, and it was like, yo, M gonna do a verse on the Rap on Steroids remix, and it's gonna be Black Thought and M and Royce, and that was something that people were buzzing about, but it never came to be.
Right.
And Royce, he played more than an integral role in this most recent M album. So it was one of those things where he was in the studio working with M, and it's not like M had never known what was up. It's not like I was never on his radar as an artist, but he had never really dealt with, my evolution in the way that he did during this recording process. And I feel like that's because Royce was showing him shit. Like, yo, this the joint that he did with Static Selector. This is the joint that he did with, fucking Benny the Butcher. This is the joint, he showed him a bunch of features and probably showed him, Royce showed him the material of mine that made Royce appreciate me the most. And then, M was able to sort of see it. And he was like, yo, we got to get him on this record. Yeah. So we hit him. He was like, yo, is there any way we can get you on this joint? And, of course, we all want to be on a record with Eminem. We all want to be on a record with Hov. It's like these are the people who are at the top of our field. So that's the type of exposure that you can't buy that shit. You know what I'm saying? I felt like, that was the call. That was the call, like, yo, it's that time. So, you gotta get busy. And that being said, I wasn't happy with my verse. You know what I mean? I wasn't done. But my time was up though. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we need this joint. We got to do it. We ready to mix the shit. Everything else done. So I was like, all right, I guess you could roll with, what I got. But I was still just trying to tweak it and just make that, just as best as I could, because I felt like, there's a whole demographic of people who aren't familiar with me as an artist, but they familiar with Eminem, and it's gonna be their introduction to what it is that I do. It's a whole demo of people who, are familiar. They ain't even put 2 and 2 together and realize that Black Thought from the Roots is Tariq from the Tonight Show, and they think I'm dude from Jimmy Fallon Show. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of Again, like, not when I say something to prove, it's more show and prove. You know what I mean? Than like, it's not like, oh, I got a showboat or I'm trying to show off, but you really got to let people know, be informative in that way with regards to what tier you want as a lyricist. You know what I mean? Like, where you at with it. So that's what it was about for me. And a crazy part about that song is I was working with Q-Tip, just coming up with some stuff for Stream to Thought. Stream to Thought, man, I got joints already done in the can with my man 14KT. We got an album. I got shit done with Primo. I got shit done with Ryan Lewis. Another batch done with Ninth Wonder. Another batch done with Mom. I got a Danger Mouse album done. I got shit done. I just been working with all of my favorite producers and just doing like, whatever we come up with, whatever the chemistry between us is, sort of documenting that. And I was over Q-Tip's crib. He lives not far from me. You know what I mean? I was at his crib, we working on shit, and we start playing joints for one another. And he showed the shit to me. He's like, yeah, I've been working on this M joint, And he played a little bit of the joint. I heard one, like, note of the shit. And I was like, yo, that's the joint. Like, I didn't even realize that was M doing the chorus. I mean, that was Q-Tip doing the chorus. Yeah. I was like, yo, this is what I thought. And I told Royce this shit. I said, damn, like, they got the fake Q-tip on this shit. Like, they could have, why they didn't get the real Q-tip? Because it sounded like it's like a little bit of an effect on his voice. I was like, yo, imagine if they'd have really got Q-tip and really got Busta Rhymes on his joint and instead of just sampling it. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, yo, man, should have got Tip. And they kind of find out that was really Tip. Like, that's really him doing it. Man, here we go. I was like, yo, this shit was crazy. But he played it for me. He was showing it to me. He had no idea that I was on that song. He's like, yo, we gotta keep this M shit. I was like, nigga, I'm on that shit.
I'm on that shit, nigga. Yo, you smacked that shit around. I'm telling you, dog. And you live from the Terror Dome, loud like a megaphone, Tuck most the third, 7 Aaron Bones. You know what I'm saying? That shit was so fucking lit. I was like, damn, and he just ended that shit so hard. But
man.
Hey man, that streams of thought. So you got part 3. What is you on part 3, right? At the installment?
Yeah, volume 3 is about to drop. That's all Sean C. You know, so yeah, me and the producer Sean C. You know, Sean C and LV Ground Music, they, you know, hip hop legends. So this is one half of that team, and he's an iconic producer, iconic A&R from Loud Records, and he's just been super instrumental in you know, a lot of hip hop history. So it's an honor and a blessing to work with him, and you know, he's real good friends with Derek D-Dot Angeletti. So whenever we in the lab and shit, D-Dot is in there, and I just feel like, you know, just these are some real this is New York rap history. So it's like, it's official tissue, just in a different way. You know what I mean? Sean C used to DJ Sean C started out carrying crates for Dougie Fresh. You know what I mean? They got put on by Dougie Fresh. And his partner LV used to he was Big Pun's DJ. Like, you know what I mean? They Bronx, they Harlem, they, you know what I mean? He's sort of he's played a role both as an artist and as an executive in a way that you know, few producers have really experienced it in a way that he has with regards to the culture. That's why I called on him. You know, I did a master class on lyricism at Carnegie Hall, and it was something I could have did it to the face, you know what I mean? But just to give it that much more dimension and just give it that much more, make it that much more of an experience, and to bring something to the table that was beyond my experience, I had Sean C do it with me. So, you know what I mean? He and I were both instructors in that, you know what I'm saying? And moving forward, I have a relationship now with Carnegie where I'm probably going to do like an artist in residence, you know what I mean? And he and I will be back. We just, like, we work well together, you know what I'm saying? So.
That's crazy, man. A master class at Carnegie Hall. How did that go down? Like, if I'm in attendance, what am I looking at?
If you're in attendance, man, it's like we just really broke it down to like the essential elements. Like we did, you know, exercises to improve your like to improve your capabilities as a storyteller, as a writer, as a freestyle artist. You know, breathing exercises to help you with your breath control, knowing where to take a breath, you know what I mean, when you're doing a verse, you know, knowing how to be an efficient songwriter, when you need to take out a syllable, when you're being too wordy, when you're not being wordy enough, all that, you know what I'm saying? It was a crash course, but it was, you know, like I said, it established a rapport that I have now where they know that it's real deal. And like the next time I approach it, the next time time permits for me to do it, I'll have all the time in the world. You know what I'm saying? I think this one that we did in February, I was there for a week.
That's super.
And it culminates in a performance. So I think I had like 10 artists, and then, you know, at the end of the week, after working with them, you know, for a few days on, you know, all these different qualities, all these different aspects of the craft, they did a performance at Carnegie Hall.
That's dope, man. What you doing?
And you know what's super dope about it though? All my students, even though we did this in February, all the students that I work with, I mean, it's whack that, you know what I mean, this whole Corona shit has hit because the facility, you know what I mean, people aren't able to really get out to the facility right now. But they all my artists that work at Black Thoughts Masterclass have access to Carnegie to use their space up until like August. So even though we did this thing in February, like if you were one of my students, you could go to Carnegie Hall to write, to rehearse, to use their space.
Crazy.
To be, you know what I mean, in that building and still soak up that energy and them spirits and have that influence your pen, you know, long after what we worked on, you know what I mean, has taken place.
Yo, man, what you doing for the culture is super phenomenal, my brother. I got to give you your props, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Come on, man.
You stretching it out, you know what I mean? Taking it to far and beyond, places that we needed to go, you know what I mean? And that shit is dope, trailblazing for everybody, man. Master class at Carnegie, man. Salute. What would you say to like a young and up and coming artist right now, man? Like to give them some advice, you know what I mean, or a jewel.
Man, you know, I would say, you know, one of the greatest jewels that I could give to any up and comer. I feel like we went through all the dealings, you know, like the back office dealings and you know, signing whack contracts, and like we went through the game as sort of the sacrificial lambs so that y'all don't have to do that. You know what I mean? Like we've been through it to get to it, and now we here where you can own your masters. You know what I'm saying? Like you can you know, name your price. You can maintain ownership of whatever it is that you do, of your beats, of your, you know, musicianship, of your songs, for like, you know, never relinquish that. You know what I mean? I feel like, you know, gone are the days where that was necessary in order to be a successful artist. You got artists now who, you know, reach megastardom before they even sign a record deal or before they even figure out, you know, what they want to do as an artist. So I feel like that is, you know, that those artists are able to achieve that and are able to operate in that way because of what artists from our graduating class and classes before us, generations of artists before us sort of went through to make that possible. So, you know what I mean? You know, you wouldn't have a Chance the Rapper who, you know what I mean, sold all these millions of mixtapes and got all these crazy endorsements and shit like before he put out his first album. You know, had we not paid the dues that we paid. So that's what I tell everybody, man, is like just maintain ownership, never relinquish ownership of what it is that you do. You know what I mean? It's not going to always be the easiest route. It's not going to always be the most convenient, but you'll be better for it as an artist in the long run if you're here for the long haul. You know what I mean? It's going to always be better to own your own shit. I mean, I spent very many years like working to buy back my freedom. You know what I'm saying? You know, you don't need to be in that position. So yeah, that's what I tell it.
No, and I hope everybody listen to that, pay super attention to that. It's jewelry time, my niggas. We had to do that, get that jewel. Hey, yo, Thought, before I get out of here, man, I just want to know if I could talk my shit real quick.
Man, absolutely.
All right, y'all. I ended season 1 with Royce the 5'9", my brother, one of the greatest ever. I started season 2 with Eminem. Next episode was Rakim, and now I got Black Thought. Y'all can't fuck with Crooks Corner. Hey, man, thanks for coming through, man. I really appreciate you. Thanks for everything you do for the culture, my brother. We wish you nothing but more success, my G.
Salute, man. I'm looking forward to, you know, to getting this joint done, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's get this work.
Let's get it. I'm ready. Anytime.
Hey, you know, I used to live out there in L.A., man. You know, I used to live out there. I spent like probably 5 years living in L.A., and I moved back to the East Coast when it was time to start this, you know, working on late night.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, I got a bunch of California roots. I got a bunch of artists in Cali that I worked with in the past that I'm looking to work with again. A bunch of brothers and sisters, man. I got joints in the can right now, you know, unreleased material with Sid from the internet. We got an instant classic done. I got a joint that I just did with J-Rock. That's fucking ridiculous. I got a joint that I did with Schoolboy Q. That's ridiculous. I'm thinking I might do like I'm going back to Cali type project where I just work with all my artists from, you know, from not even only from LA, but, you know what I mean? I got family in the Bay. I got family from, you know, all parts of California. I'm thinking about You know what I mean? Like really doing like a return to that essence and do, because it's a different feel, it's a different sound, and it'll have to be stuff that I write out there because I'm productive. My pen hit different when I'm writing, you know what I'm saying, in California. So that's something else that I've been thinking about, man, keeping in the back of your mind. You know what I'm saying?
Let Long Beach in there, baby. Let Long Beach
bring us
to the table.
It's a done bun.
That'll be dope. Hey, man, stay blessed, stay healthy, my brother. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Likewise, Crook.
All right, my G.
Yo, salute.
Salute.